It's a scene therapy podcast show. David and Dave may be a little slow when it comes to broadcasting wit. David and Dave are full of it. They strive for content seamless, but must be streaming, not streamless, or else it's off to the doc for a fix. To the baby boomer he licks. They cast these pods all over the net. To the people known as catchers, go to the net. I'm ready to spike this pod back at you. But we tell them you can't. That's not part of the plan. We're of the baby boomer age and try as hard as we can. Can't defend it against Spike because Lee, he'd a man. We give all our best impressions of impressionless folk and try to entertain with a song or a joke. It's a scene therapy podcast show. David and Dave are maybe a little slow when it comes to broadcasting wit. David and Dave are full of it. They strive for content seamless, but must be streaming, not streamless, or else it's off to the doc for a fix. To the baby boomer he licks. Well, hello everyone out there in podcast land. It's been crazy 2 weeks for me, just busy, and I just hope this all goes well. And today we'll start with a bit of golf and then travel forward in time to the late 70s in Alberta, as well as a selection of poems and songs. I will begin with the song for all the wee ones out there, including Hunter, Liam, Damien, and Bo. This is an Ozark Mountain Daredevil song that has a fairy tale feel to it. It's called Cobblestone Mountain. This is Cobblestone Mountain, a song sung, written, and performed by Ozark Mountain Daredevils. And I'm going to sing it. And I'm going to sing it for the little guys. Cobblestone Mountain, it was made by hand from the magic and the motor of a cobblestone land. Cobblestone Mountain, it was made by hand from the magic and the motor of a cobblestone land. Listen to me, children, there's a riddle and a rhyme about a man who built a mountain that an angel couldn't climb. He built it with the skill and the magic that he learned when he found the holy river and the riverboat burned. Cobblestone Mountain, it was made by hand from the magic and the mortar of a cobblestone land. Cobblestone Mountain, it was made by hand from the magic and the mortar of a cobblestone land. Magic and the mortar of a cobblestone land. Listen to me, children, here's a word from the wise. I got it from the man with the cobblestone eyes. Take it with a chuckle or a grain of salt, but if the cobblestone buckles, it's all your own fault. Cobblestone Mountain, it was made by hand from the magic and the mortar of a cobblestone land. Cobblestone Mountain, it was made by hand from the magic and the mortar of a cobblestone land. From the magic and the mortar of a cobblestone land. From the magic and the mortar of a cobblestone land. Okay, we're going to start with golf. A lot of it's from my youth, and we'll work on to Edmonton. Okay, with golf, we would cut the cover off the ball and peel it off to expose the inner windings of the rubber string, then unwind the rubber string, which was very time-consuming. Next, we would take the core of liquid-filled sack and cut it open. What a stink. It was time to have some fun, so we hid in the bushes on holes with blind corners or hills, then swoop in after the ball that had been hit right in the middle of the fairway. That was like cherry picking compared to searching through the bushes. When we got back to the hiding place, we could hear the golfers cussing and swearing and saying something like, "It's probably some juvenile reprobates, and if we ever find them, look out." Yeah? Good luck with that. I wonder if I'll remember to look up reprobate in the dictionary. Heck, I can't even spell it. We would beat the ball around the course when there were no golfers on the fourth hole because one of my friends, Jim Hull's property, adjoined the golf course property. We would tiptoe through the tulies with clubs and balls in hand, and then beat the balls around. The best time was in the evening because there was hardly anyone there. Just short of the green was a good-sized pond, and each of us had hit a ball into it at one time or another. We said it would sure be nice to get those balls back. It would be great to have our swimming trunks on and dive in to retrieve the balls on the bottom of the pond. We figured the best time would be when it's just getting dark, so we hatched a plan to do it the next evening with some extra recruits. Can't wait till D-Day. The next day, we headed out just as it was getting dark. There we were, 5 of us, and only one smart enough to bring a flashlight. We kept our shirts on to have a place to store the balls. We would dive in and swim to the bottom to feel around for the balls because it is impossible to see. Dark and everyone churning up the silt on the bottom, it didn't take long to realize that the balls would collect in the depressions. Sometimes we could get 3 dives out of one nest. The deepest part of the pond was over 15 feet, well within our range. When it was all said and done, we had about 3 5-gallon pails filled with balls. We kept the balls at Jim's and sold them, some of them, but had to be careful not to flood the market and raise suspicions. We did find out later that no one is allowed to collect balls from the pond. I didn't see any signs, did you? When you hit one in the bush, you're almost guaranteed to find 3 others, so if you're down to your last ball, just hit it in the bushes for more ammo. I used a cast-off set of my dad's old clubs. Did I have a set of golf clubs? Yes, but none were comprised. They were all comprised of different makes and models. Since we had to carry our clubs, it didn't take long to discover that we didn't need a whole set of oddballs. So the odd-numbered clubs, driver, 3-wood, 3, 5, 7, and 9 irons, and a wedge if you had one, are the ones we kept. Oddball equipment was no stranger to me, just like the bike I had in Victoria. It was a girl's bike that was way too big for me, so I had to stand on the pedals the entire time and could barely reach up to the handlebars and had to peer to the side to see past the frame. I was not too fond of it at first because of the teasing, but I thought better than nothing and got used to it until I loaned it to some girls whose names I won't mention. They went to the new Mayfair Mall in Victoria, and when they got outside to leave, there it was, gone. In very little time at all, I'd gone from no bike to girl's bike, back to no bike. Let's get back to the subject of golf. Some kids had their own clubs cut down and re-gripped, but it was too steep for my pocketbook. That's a lot of berry picking, rock picking, and pool playing. I would use adult clubs and had to grip down as low as possible to stroke the ball with regularity. It took a while, but eventually all of us could kind of play. I think junior member fees were approximately $30 at the time. which is pretty darn cheap. We would work at odd jobs to pay for golf as well as feeding some bad habits. Anyhow, we would have a great time smacking balls around the old golf course and into the tulies to find more of them. Any good balls we found, we would keep to sell them back to their rightful owner. We did some of the Happy Gilmore stuff before it became a thing, such as standing at the tee box and doing a 360-degree turn before striking the ball, or running straight at the ball in the tee box and hitting it on the fly. We would do the same tricks and others on the fairway. Once we had our driver's licenses, we drove to the top of the big three, Mount Maxwell, Mount Bruce, and Mount Tuam, and smashed balls off the peaks. We would also hit balls into the salt chuck from a slew of locations. As an adult living in Edmonton, I first golfed at Riverside on the east side of town. I would golf around 6 times a year for the next 5 or 6 years. When I moved to Rollyview, I began to golf at the Red Tail Landing Golf Club in Nisku. And that's where I took a few sessions of the first and only lessons I ever had. The pro said these fatal words: "What do you want to learn to do?" I didn't say, "Do you think I need to work on something, anything special?" And I didn't say, "I'd like to have a smooth swing." I did say, "I want to be able to hit the ball as far as possible." In about 3 or 4 lessons, he did teach me how to tear the cover off the ball, as I was a fairly quick learner. Okay, up next is Bobby McGee, the song written by Chris Christopherson and Fred Foster, and sung by Chris. My favorite version was that of Janis Joplin. Some artists have the ability to own songs by feasting on the lyrics, tempo, and melody, then regurgitating the essence of the song in a very palatable way to leave everyone else in the dust. And that's exactly what Janis did. What made her even more impressive was her ability to slay a song written in a genre foreign to her previous experiences. So here's Bobby McGee.
Me and Bobby McGee. Busted flat in Baton Rouge and headed for the trains, feeling nearly faded as my jeans. Bobby thumbed the diesel down just before it rained, took us all the way to New Orleans. I took my harpoon out of my dirty red bandana and was blowing sidewell. Bobby sang the blues. With them windshield wipers slapping time in Bobby's clapping hands, we finally sang up every song the driver knew. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose, and nothing ain't worth nothing but it's free. Feeling good was easy, Lord, when Bobby sang the blues, and buddy, that was good enough for me. Good enough for me and my Bobby McGee. From the coal mines of Kentucky to the California sun, Bobby shared the secrets of my soul, standing right beside me through everything I'd done, and every night she kept me from the cold. Then somewhere near Salinas, Lord, I let her slip away. She was looking for the home I'd hoped she'll find. When I trade my all tomorrows for a single yesterday, holding Bobby's body close to mine. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose, and nothing left was all she left to me. Feeling good was easy, Lord, when Bobby sang the blues. And buddy, that was good enough for me. Good enough for me and my Bobby McGee.
And, excuse me, we're back in Edmonton, And I worked for Dresser Atlas, a Texas-based wireline company, for most of the 10 years I lived in Edmonton. Our facility was on the south side of the city. It had lots of indoor shop space for the trucks and gear required to do a job. We had a big yard that we shared with a few other sister companies of Dresser Industries. I could never explain my job because of its complexity, but I'll do my best and see what transpires. Most of the work is done on the wireline truck, and what differentiates it from other trucks is that there is a tarp on the back covering the tools and winch unit to keep them from the elements during transportation. When you arrive at the job site, the truck is positioned for work. The tarp is rolled up to reveal the large spool of wire line, the line guiding and measuring device, and various other tools and equipment. On either side of the truck are tool racks to accommodate very long logging tools. There's a window between the cable drum and the cab exterior where the operators run the winch. He has a chair, steering wheel, brake, and instrument panel. More than half of the cab is taken up by two large panel racks that run parallel to the truck's sides. The racks are mostly full of electronic panels, and in between is the engineer's chair. The cable on the drum can be either single or multi-conductor and range from 5/16 to 11/16 of an inch. The conductors are covered with 2 layers of steel strands wound around them. The cable is spooled out and fed through a lower sheave wheel that is anchored to the wellhead. The line is then fed through the upper sheave wheel that is raised high up in the rig derrick. The logging tools are then connected to the wire line. The winch driver picks up the wireline tools, positions them over the wellhead, and they are lowered into the wellbore. A wireline logging tool can be run on its own or in combination with other devices. So one sec here. The well may present challenges such as combustible gas that can compound the situation if it's either high pressure or hydrogen sulfide or both. Natural gas is a potential bomb, and high pressures can make it a bigger, badder bomb. The hydrogen sulfide, otherwise known as H2S, is a nightmare to work with and requires specialized equipment, including breathing apparatus. And I've used that, and I'm telling you, it's not fun. I know some who have lost their loved ones from H2S exposure. People can smell the rotten egg odor of the hydrogen sulfide at low concentrations in air. However, with continuous low-level exposure or high concentrations, a person loses his or her ability to smell the gas, even though it is still present. It's a silent killer because you may not smell it, and you definitely cannot see it. And what it does is it attacks your nervous system and just shuts you down. Environmental challenges are high winds, especially offshore, torrential rain, lightning, extreme heat, blizzards, and extreme cold. I've worked with dangerous materials, including sealed radioactive sources, liquid radioactive tracer material, like those used in hospitals, an array of different types of explosives, caustic chemicals, and mercury. Fun, fun, fun. Just one of these challenges can prove fatal, but to add fuel to the fire, you may be dealing with any combination of them, increasing the risk of disastrous results to you and those nearby. On an offshore rigger platform, it could become a catastrophic situation. We worked under a strict set of protocols, but just one wrong move, and you're faced with a possible explosion that could ignite radioactive that could include radioactive and chemical contamination, not unlike a dirty bomb. I would go on record saying it was somewhat of a dangerous vocation. I worked at this job for approximately 25 years, but as far as stress is concerned, it's a toss-up between field work and management. I preferred to be out working in the field as opposed to being chained to a desk. One more sip. On a wireline job, you could be waiting around for 1 or 2 hours and sometimes as much as a few days. Once the wait is over, you could be working for as little as a few hours, up to a few days. And after the job, you either went home or directly on to the next adventure. We had favorite places for food, drink, and lodging. Pickled eggs and beer at a pub in Yojak were a hit, and even the gas bombs did not deter us. I don't know if you've eaten pickled eggs before, but if you have, you know what I'm talking about. Lougheed had the best steaks, colossal T-bones that you cook on a barbecue out back of the pub. Absolutely delicious. And then all in the Rockies are the places that I like to visit. It was Waterton, Jasper, Banff, and Coleman are my favorites. Some of the jobs were baptism by fire, as you may do something you have never done before and hope for favorable results, which would require equal parts talent and stupidity to pull it off. For instance, not long after I started working for Dresser Atlas on a dark and stormy night, I was crashed out in the sleeper of the big truck when Dwayne Brink pulled over, the driver, of course, and roused me from my sleep. He said, "I'm falling asleep, so you have to drive this jalopy." I told him that I wasn't licensed to drive big trucks, and I'd never so much as sat in a driver's seat. He said, "No problem." And then I thought, what the heck? I got to start sometime. Dwayne gave me a quick lesson, helped me get up to cruising speed, then climbed into the bunk to immediately begin snoring. I managed to keep her between the center line and the ditch, but I must have ground a pound or two off the gears. For me, grinding metal is like fingernails on the chalkboard, which meant the gear shifting was very unpleasant. But not so for Dwayne, because he remained sound asleep. The truck had the capacity of 20 forward gears and 4 in reverse. We did manage to reach our destination safe and sound. This adventure spurred me on to get my Class 3 license and then learn to shift without rounding off the gears. I like driving trucks, but by and large, our trucks were underpowered enough to cause the driver embarrassment when almost all the other trucks on the road would pass you on an uphill climb as though you were standing still. We could go just as fast as the others in a downhill incline by kicking it into Mexican overdrive, which, simply put, is shifting into neutral to coast and increase the speed. Rainbow Lake is in northwestern Alberta and is the Mozzie capital of Alberta. And they now have a giant mosquito on a pump jack as their claim to fame. You couldn't see the rainbow through the mosquitoes and horseflies, and I developed an appreciation for dragonflies. How did Rainbow Lake get its name if you could never see a rainbow? They did have a lot of mozzies back in the day, and likely still do. If you're eating outdoors, it's a scrap with the mozzies, bees, and horseflies over the food, and chances are you'll eat more than you bargained for. I bought a t-shirt that showed a mosquito humping a black bear, and that pretty much sums it up. Coleman is in God's country. Coleman sits in the Crow's Nest Pass of the Rocky Mountains. What a place of breathtaking beauty. The one memory that stands out is that I slept through the night in the back seat of a car, and I woke up to the surreal grandeur of it all as I teetered on the edge of giddiness, the total peace, the chill of the sweet mountain air, and the scenic feast of a geological beast known as the Rockies. I had experienced the Rockies in the wintertime while skiing, but this was my first up-close and personal encounter during the summer. About 100 kilometers southeast is Waterton Lakes National Park. It is a real gem of a place, and unfortunately we never spent that much time there, but I'd go back there in a heartbeat because it's just lovely, lovely country. Okay, I'm just going to check on to see if anyone's with me. Oh, yeah, looks like. Just give me one sec. Yeah, Jacqueline, Liam and I are here. Samantha Dixon, hello. Jacqueline, I don't know when you started watching, but near the beginning is when I played or sang that Cobblestone Mountain, the one for the kids. So you just have to look at it later. Okay, now I'm going to go back to where I was. This original poem speaks of how easy it is to be lost or swallowed up amongst the multitudes and then become somewhat hopeless and helpless to the point of questioning your own sanity. Oh. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Okay, I'll read it. Somehow it's not running through. So it seems, it's you, it's me, forever to be, a grain of sand lost in this desert we call humanity. No reason, no time, no direction, no mind, for others it seems. Look ahead then back, am I on the right track? Spin round and round, till face meets ground, sand in mouth, spit it out. Shameful to me, but no one will see, or have pity on me. Face all red, then a shake of the head, and brush away the sand. I've come to my senses, or so it seems. Now, what was I up to? The memory I can't find, perhaps in my dreams. Must be losing my mind, or so it seems. Okay. Oh, that was supposed to be done in real time, and I had a big note there. Anyhow, that's the way it goes. Okay. This is it. I was based in Edmonton for a total of 10 years. My work took me all over Alberta, northern BC, southern Saskatchewan, southern Manitoba, and the Beaufort Sea. And this is about town names. The prairie provinces have some towns with interesting and quirky names. In Alberta is Vegreville, which is a town founded by Ukrainians that has the world's largest Easter egg as its claim to fame. Additionally, there are Little Smoky and Pipestone. That begs the question, did a little smoky from the pipe make for a big stone? We'll never know. Hairy Hill, one can only imagine. Dead Man Flats. How do you make a dead man flat? Let out all the air or press him with a steamroller. Cardigan. Can you say Mr. Rogers, boys and girls? Boo Boo, Venice, and Hilo. Hilo, make up your freaking mind. Big Boo Boo, I booked my holiday to go to the wrong Venice. Hater, Tomahawk, and Warspite. Warspite caused the hater to wield his tomahawk. Sorry. Mirror and enchant. Enchanted by the figure in an elegant mirror. Lloydminster is on the Alberta-Saskatchewan border. I still can't figure out how they can fit two provinces into that one city. This makes me scratch my head. In Saskatchewan, there is Swift Current, also known as Speedy Creek. Smoking Tent. The First Nations peoples were well ahead of their time when they implemented a policy for designated smoking and non-smoking tents. Me Too's and Piece of Me. I Piece of Me and Me Too's is a copycat. Climax, Endeavor, and Fertile. The fertile endeavor is to climax, but climax awaits foreplay. I wonder if there's a place called Foreplay. Peebles. There are 20 peeps in Peebles. Adenac, which of course is a palindrome for Canada. In other words, Canada spelled backwards. Fairy Glen, Lore, and Feudal. Lore states that Fairy Glen had feudal beginnings. Foam Lake, Choice Land, and Yellow Grass. Choice land of yellow snow makes yellow grass, which drains into Foam Lake. Forget and can do. I can do when I don't forget. Oxbow, Outlook, and Unity. Unity is the outlook for Oxbow. This is one I like. Radville, just a rad place to live. Bigger. Their claim to fame is, New York is big, but this is bigger. In Manitoba, there is Ditch Lake. Make up your mind, which one is it? Pilot Mound, The pilot ate it when he hit the mound. Ebb and flow, camper, and hoop and holler bend. The ebb and flow of the river could be seen from the camper at Hoop and Holler Bend. Miami, Sydney, and Arizona, can you say denial, especially in January? Or maybe it makes them hopeful, I don't know, but next is an original poem about how life can be challenging, and given the choice, would you go airless or airless? And it's called Heir Care. This is an original poem called Heir Care. Few, when they grew, knew how quickly life flew. Like matter through air, to be is to err. To live is to fly, to crash and cry. Who is your heir? Do you have one? Do you care? One can survive being airless and hairless, but don't be careless and choose to go airless. Expire, enter the fire, to be rendered as dross for a berth in the urn. Okay, and this next one is makes me, I don't know, a little emotional, I guess, every time I read it. So why the heck did I write it? I don't know. So it's an original poem song about a dear friend of mine who's living with dementia, and you may have heard it before. Okay, God bless you, Denise, as it says. Maybe I should have another quick boo here at things. Oh, it's the same. Oh, wait, maybe there's something below there. No. Okie dokie. So, these were the crazy years, part of the crazy years in Edmonton. Not real crazy, but kind of crazy. It's 1976, and the place is 3503 104th Street, Millwoods, Edmonton, which is where we rented a house. I don't know, sometimes I wonder why people would rent houses to young people like us, but they did. Murray, Ron, Bill Van Lent, and Ron's cousin Bill and I moved into a 3-bedroom bungalow in Millwoods. It had an empty, unfinished basement. Once we moved in, we came to the grim realization that it came without a wet bar. Nor did it have a clothes washer and dryer. How could we be so stupid? Stupid is as stupid does, according to Forrest Gump. We did have a fireplace, cablevision, telephone, and a pocket door between the house's living room and sleeping area. The house rules were simple, as there were no rules. There were unwritten rules. Partying was encouraged. The groceries, rent, utilities, and phone were split evenly by the number of people living in the house, regardless of how long they were away at work. The fewest number of people I remember living in the house at one time was 5, and at times that number swelled to 12. And this was like full-time people living there, and all in a 3-bedroom house. Laundry. When it came to laundry day, we would throw all the laundry into garbage bags, head out to the laundromat, and use up to 10 machines. The one obstacle was that a pub was attached to the laundromat. But after a few beers, it seemed like no obstacle at all. Eventually, someone would say, "What about the laundry?" I wasn't big on laundry, so if it were a matter of shifting everything from washers to dryers, I would hang back with someone else to guard the drinks. Sometimes the machines had been sitting idle for more than an hour, and we had to run the gauntlet of angry fellow laundry peeps who were standing around waiting for us while others had already emptied the dryers for us, or washers, whatever it be. Wouldn't it be great if we could train them to take them from the washers and put them in the dryers? After the clothes transfer, we would head back to the bar for a few more, and invariably lose track of time again, to return to find that the dryers had magically been emptied. I guess they were waiting. At least they could have folded the clothes for us. I mean, come on. So we did our own folding by merely stuffing them into the garbage bags before heading home. "Look, Mom, no hands. I can fold." Both Bill Van Lent and I were tired of sleeping on the floor. Bill had an Edison moment. The light went on. Eureka! There were all these empty beer cases looking for a home. We sure didn't need a home, but a room will do. We carried all the empties down to the basement, grabbed our construction tools, which came in the form of a cold 6-pack. The decision was to make it 2 cases wide with interlocking components to provide structural integrity. Oh, yes. The 3 walls ran floor to ceiling with a door opening on one of the walls. It didn't smell all that good, but at least Bill had some privacy. I, on the other hand, had a cot underneath the stairs. Well, at one of our many parties, Murray went to the bathroom, and a few minutes later, there was an almighty crash and bits of wood came flying into the living room as Murray appeared through the fragments. Someone asked him what he was doing, and he replied, "I was in a hurry to get back to partying. And how was I supposed to know that someone had closed the pocket door behind me?" Yeah. We broke the door into pieces small enough to go into the fireplace and burned it, which gave the party some much-needed ambience. One good thing about pocket doors is that they are almost always in the open position, and we soon forgot we ever had one. When the damage deposit inspection was done, the owner had also forgotten that there ever was one. Pretty handy. On another occasion, we talked of doing something different for a party, and to spice it up, someone suggested to have a roof party. None of us had ever been to a roof party, so it only made sense to host one. The crazy thing was that the decision was made mid-party, so we simply moved up to the roof. We had considered moving the stereo equipment up top, but thought better of it as turntables don't work on a 512 pitch roof, and the other components would likely become projectiles. We compromised by taking the speakers out and pointing them up to the roof, which would allow us to share our refined taste in music with our doting neighbors. From what I can remember, it was a good party, and oh yeah, only one person fell off the roof. Dwayne Brink fell and landed derriere first on the sidewalk. Speaking in a polished grade 1 English, he said, "Brink's bum broke. Go home taxi." He got his wish, and a few weeks later, he had fully recovered. I didn't care much for cooking, so I would take one for the team by chipping in with the dishes to risk coming down with the dreaded dishpan hands. The rewards were twofold: no cooking and heated dish towel fights. It was good. We engaged until first blood was drawn, or we tired out. It's amazing what you can do with a wet dish towel. You can crack it hard enough to draw blood. You can go around the house flicking the old-style light switches off and on, or whacking mozzies if hunting season was in effect. Sometimes at bedtime, and Lynn, if she was here, would remember this probably, because I think she was there at the time, Lynn Cunningham. Lynn Canada. Sometimes at bedtime, we would chime in, one by one. "Good night, Olivia." "Good night, John boy." "Good night, Grandma." "Good night, Jason." "Good night, Mama." "Good night, Grandpa." "Good night, Elizabeth." "Good night, Ben." "Good night, Aaron." "Good night, Daddy." "Good night, Mary Ellen." "Good night, Jim Bob." The good old wholesome Waltons. Another original poem that's about how you can box yourself in through your expectation of others, and it's called All About Me. This is an original poem called All About Me. I have all the time in the world for people who comply with my agenda and feed my ego. They are rare. I approve of children who do as they are told, think more of others, less of themselves, and don't think for themselves. They are nowhere to be found. This next song is crazy how families kind of, it's almost genetic for them being in like the entertainment business. And this family is no exception. This song is by Josh Ritter. He is the grandson of former country singer and actor Tex Ritter. Excuse me. He is also the son of John Ritter, who played Jack Tripper in the series Three's Company, if you're old enough to remember that. I think Josh is a true diamond in the rough of the folk music scene. He's got some really nice songs. So this one is my version of Why, his song Why.
Songs from Josh Ritter, it's called Why. Why can't you try to be happy? Why must you always be sad? Why spend your only life waiting to have what you know you can have? Why spend your only life hoping? What a torture to be always blue, darling. Why spend your only life waiting to do what you know you can do? What's the worst thing that could possibly happen to you? Why spend your only life hoping? What a torture to be always blue, darling. Why spend your only life waiting to do what you know you can do? Why spend your only life waiting to do what you know you can do?
All right. I guess it's that time to say goodbye and see you in a couple of weeks, which should be around Halloween. So I might have some Halloween stories for you. And yeah, it was good. Thanks for joining me, those of you that did. And I hope you enjoyed it. Anyhow, let's go for the peace out. Love you all. Night.